Hello, darlings. All right, so let's get started. Today's topic is 15 reasons your spouse blames you for everything. And this is another thing that I told you when you're dealing with people who are like this. You're going to be in psychological prison. You will be incarcerated. What happens when you're incarcerated? Your rights are being taken away. Your happiness is being taken away. You are micromanaged. You cannot do anything on your own of your own volition. You will be micromanaged like crazy. They're like a helicopter parent who's always hovering over their kid, watching their every move. Kind of like that, except you're grown. And controlling people who are mentally ill, because normal people don't feel the need to control other people. So mentally ill people have to micromanage in order to feel like there's something or somebody or that they're important. Normal people don't do that. So that's a sign of mental illness right out the gate, that somebody feels the need to control somebody else because somebody else, this other person's grown. You need to sit in your lane and mind your business. But it doesn't work like that when you're dealing with somebody who not all there. So let's go there. This is on psychlove.co. Psychlove. Okay. It's got a little heart next to it. Psychlove. Right? And 15 reasons your spouse blames you for everything. Let's get started. If your spouse blames you for everything, this can negatively impact your self-esteem and sense of self. Every relationship has its ups and downs, but being on the end of constant blame can really take its toll on you. Here are some common reasons why your spouse is resorting to pointing fingers and what you can do to change it. Deflecting responsibility. If your spouse tends to point the finger and blame you for something you did wrong when it was an equal responsibility to manage, they don't know how to take responsibility for their actions or their lack of inaction. Call them out on this by discussing issues calmly and openly and focusing on solutions rather than reassigning blame. Another thing that therapists will tell you, which in the heat of the moment doesn't always work, right? But we put effort in, right? It's never a good idea to say to your spouse, you always and you never. Because we know that that's not true, right? You never cut the grass. Obviously, they do cut the grass, or else the grass would be up to your neck. Okay. You never take the trash out. Well, that's not true either, right? Because the trash would be up to the ceiling. So always and never are not, it automatically puts a person in defense mode, right? Just as an FYI. Insecurity and low self-esteem. Insecurity or a lack of self-esteem can cause your spouse to deflect blame out of fear of being criticized or vulnerable. By blaming you, they shield themselves from their own feelings of inadequacy. Recognize their fragility and encourage them to build their sense of self through therapy or self-help practices. Unresolved childhood trauma. Our past negative experiences, especially from childhood, can lead to unresolved trauma and influence how we show up in the world. If your spouse was constantly criticized or blamed growing up, they can become critical of others and project these patterns onto you. Encourage them to seek counseling to become more aware of the trauma they carry so they can work through it and change their behavior. Stress and pressure. When people are under extreme stress, it can impact their mental health and make them irritable and quick to project blame. If you think your spouse is overwhelmed by too many responsibility at work or in their lives, offer support to lighten the load and encourage them to engage in stress-relieving practices like meditation and yoga. Communication breakdown. Having clear, open communication is the foundation of a healthy relationship and marriage. If your spouse struggles to articulate their feelings or is a bad communicator, this can lead to misunderstandings and cause them to lash out and blame you. Set regular times to sit down and talk and be an active listener so that you are more aware of what the other needs. Couples therapy can also help resolve communication issues in a safe space. Okay. And one thing that we've talked about before that I want to make sure that is crystal clear. Men, not all men, chill out. Okay. But men can be notorious for being obstinate. I ain't changing. This is who the hell I am. Whoever don't like it, there's the door. I am sick and tired of hearing your mouth. You see my face? That doesn't bring out the best in people when you do that, all right? Obstinance, extreme stubbornness. I ain't changing for no damn body. I don't need to change. I've been like this ever since, and I ain't changing for nobody. Well, then you can get divorced. That's what you can get. So calm the hell down and realize that that's not going to get you anywhere. Or if your wife is like that, I ain't changing. I don't give a damn. You knew I was like this when you met me, and I don't give a rat's ass. That's not going to get you too far either. People get defensive. They put their wall up. That wall is impenetrable. Nobody can get through that wall because people are just not going to have that with you. They're not going to do that with you. And then if they don't want to be physical with you, they don't want to be intimate with you, you get mad. But you have to understand that attitude, anger, obstinance, this way, I won't change it for nobody. That's going to not get you laid. Okay? And it's not because your spouse is using that as a punishment. So some people do, don't get me wrong, and it's wrong. But for some people, like when I was married, that's the last thing I want to do with you because you throw me out to the wolves on a daily basis. I have to deal with everything alone. I have to deal with your ex-bitch wife alone. I have to deal with, nonsense with your kids, which I jumped their world because their father's useless and so is the mother. So I had to be the disciplinarian. If I'm going to be married and single, why the hell do I want to be intimate with you? Where's the incentive? I'm out on my ass. I'm on an island surrounded by alligators and you don't care. Don't touch me. You don't want to be lovey-dovey with someone who's not lovey-dovey with you. They're hateful. But as soon as we're laying down, hey girl, hey, you better go on somewhere. That doesn't turn people on. That attitude, that anger, that pissy attitude, that don't turn people on. Control issues. Projecting blame is often a tactic for a spouse to exert control. They may not even be aware they are doing this, but their need to feel powerful and in control is often a defense mechanism against feeling vulnerable. So in other words, to hide their vulnerabilities, they're going to be, king or queen of the mountain. That doesn't work either. People are grown. They don't want you being their parent. That doesn't turn people on either. Establish boundaries, assert your needs clearly and calmly, and let your spouse know what you consider deal breakers. Emotional immaturity. If your spouse did experience childhood trauma, it may have stunted their emotional maturity, so they can struggle to express and manage their emotions, especially in times of stress and tension. This can mean they resort to blame in an argument, so understand what is happening, be patient, but encourage them to be more open and honest in their communication style. Lack of empathy. You don't want me to go there, do you? Anyway, if your spouse lacks empathy, they may not understand the impact placing blame has on your confidence and emotions. This can lead to repeated accusations of blame, making you feel angry and resentful. Articulate how it makes you feel and encourage your partner to be more aware of their behavior and understanding of your needs. Projecting issues. Your spouse may blame you as a way to project their own insecurities or problems onto you. By blaming you, they avoid having to look at their own issues and behaviors. Encourage them to do some self-reflection, identify why they are stressed and upset, and create a safe space so they can open up without fear of judgment. So, if somebody expresses something to you, right, the last thing you want to do is go, You're upset about that? That's what got you in a pissy mood the last week or so? It's making me tired. That is undermining the person, right? So if it's a legitimate concern or a stress factor for your spouse, do not undermine them by making it not a big deal. It may not be a big deal to you because you are not experiencing it. They are experiencing it, and to them it's overwhelming. And let me tell you another thing. And I'm not even going to charge for these tidbits. I should. Also, something that is minor or appears to be minor, if that person is communicating with you properly, the more they talk, the more it comes down to something even bigger. So yes, initially, it may be, I don't understand why the mail is so late. I needed this yesterday. Why did I get it today? But you're tripping over the mail? The mail's been late a lot lately. Okay. You tripping over that? And then you talk, they talk more. You stop interrupting. Let them talk. And then all these other little things that they're bringing up and you're going, uh-huh. And in the back of your mind, you're like, but that's not a big deal either. But then they reveal, and I'm worried about my mom. I don't think she's going to live much longer. Ding, ding, ding. There you go. So all these little things that don't seem like a big deal. I had to stand in the line at the coffee shop and I had to stand there for almost a half an hour and they had a new person and they don't need to have a new person who doesn't know what the hell they're doing. I got to get to work on time. And you're like, I get it. Calm down. I get it. Okay. But then they keep talking about other things that tick them off, the traffic, and people are ignorant and their boss is in a bad mood and putting me in a bad mood because I don't know what the hell's wrong with him and blah, blah, blah. And I'm worried about my mom. She may not survive much longer. So now you see that what appears to be a little thing, when the person opens up more and more and more, we're going to get to the bullseye of where the stress is actually coming from. It's a humongous stress, right? And so everything that follows is just added on, and it's just too much. Okay? So now they have a real reason to be upset. I mean, these are other things that are stressors too. Don't get me wrong, but then here's the whammy. Here's the mother load. I'm worried about my mom, So the more they talk, the more they'll even realize why they're so mega stressed. You know what I mean? Need for validation. Constantly blaming someone else for your shortcomings may stem from a need for validation and reassurance. Your spouse may not want to fight or upset you. They could be feeling insecure and are testing the waters to see if their behavior is justified. Let them know it isn't, but use positive reinforcement to talk through any fears or insecurities they are feeling. Past resentments, that's a big one. Even if the person has forgiven or, your spouse has forgiven you, it's still in the back of their mind that even happened in the first place, regardless of what it is. And so over time, without proper communication, resentment builds and builds and builds and builds and builds. And then it explodes and it's just something small happened and the person flips out, when in reality, it's a whole bunch of things that were building up in their head, in their resentment bank, that are stored in there, and it just makes the person flip out one day. If your spouse feels resentful or neglected, they may be holding on to grudges, which will resurface as blaming you for everything. This isn't healthy and will fuel more resentment on both sides. Address any past conflicts to clear the air and find closure so you can move on and let things go. Fear of confrontation. Many people fear confrontation and to sidestep uncomfortable discussions may resort to blame. This can make the situation worse. So it's better to tackle any issues as they happen and talk through them openly and constructively. Conflict and disagreements are part of life and relationships, and it's important to learn how to address them in a healthy way. Habitual behavior. For some, blaming others might simply be a bad habit they have trouble breaking. If your spouse has always used blame as a coping mechanism or a way to prevent them from addressing their own issues. Encourage them to be more self-aware of their behaviors. Constantly blaming someone can damage and sabotage a relationship. And it's a matter of not what you say, but how you say it. All right? So, babe, we've been through this a lot. We've been through this a lot. Please, please, please. Not you. I need you to remember. I know you got a lot on your mind. I know that. I get it. Okay? And I love everything you do around the house to help me. But this one particular thing, can you make it a concerted effort not to do that because it drives me crazy? Please. I'm just asking you to try to remember. If you could slow down and pay attention to what you're doing and just remember to do that for me, I would love it. Thank you so much. Okay? That sure beats, you are such a freaking idiot. How many times do I have to tell you the same thing? Okay? That's not going to win you any brownie points with anybody, right? So it's all in how you say it. And there's a lady on YouTube who said you need to connect and then confront. So in other words, instead of, this is what I need you to do, hug them. I know you don't want to. You want to wring their neck. I get it. Hug them and say, babe, I love you, right? Give me a kiss. I love you, right? Well, yeah, I love you too. Well, this is what I need you to do for me, okay? You're my baby. You're my everything. But this is what I need you to do because it's driving me crazy. Can you try to remember to do this, please? Please. So she said people confront and then try to connect. And she said you need to connect first and then confront. And to me, that makes sense. Physical touch, babe, and I don't mean sexual. Guys, calm the freaking hell down. Physical touch, give the person a hug. Hey, you've done a million great things around the house, and I don't take anything for granted. I really appreciate you. But this one particular thing, I really need you to take if you could take a concerted effort, make a concerted effort to not do this anymore. I know it's a habit. You're not doing it on purpose, but it drives me crazy. So if you can, work on that, I would love it. Okay. People are going to be more receptive to that than you. Oh my God, how many times? And you're going to be tempted to do that. Trust me, you're going to be tempted, but don't. Try not to. Negative influences, external influences like being surrounded by toxic friends or family members or engaging in unhealthy behaviors can be behind your spouse's need to lay blame. If they grew up with toxicity, that's normal to them, right? Don't let anyone influence your relationship. Foster connection and strengthen your relationship by spending more time together and set firm boundaries for negative people in your life. You don't owe anybody anything. Whether it's your mom, your dad, the goldfish down the road, you don't owe nobody jack. I don't give a damn how biologically you are connected to them. If they are poisonous, I'm not speaking to you. I'm done. I don't owe you squat. We are connected scientifically. We are connected by biology. That don't mean a hill of beans because you're disrespectful as hell, and I'm done. I'm not talking about your spouse. I'm talking about family. People feel obligated to be a doormat or floor mat, whatever the hell you call it. Y'all know I get my words mixed up. Stop making fun of me. Anyway, but, I don't care if it's your mother-in-law, your father-in-law, your sister-in-law, your whoever, or your mom or your dad. If anybody is going to be hateful, and that is the way they've always been, they're never going to change, be done with them. Block them. You don't owe them squat. And if they show up at your doorstep, I got nothing to say to you. Get the hell off my property. I'm done, or I'm calling the police. You don't owe them anything. Biology is only science. That's all it is. You don't owe somebody because you're connected biologically. Screw that crap. Please. No. Don't let them give you high blood pressure and kidney failure and intestinal issues and headaches. No, look. You out. I'll fire somebody in a minute. I don't care who you are. You're out. Yeah, it might hurt me. to initially do it, but me dealing with you hurts worse, so you're out. Chronic blame might be a symptom of unaddressed relationship issues. If there's a lack of trust, intimacy, or compatibility issues, or your partner is feeling insecure, unhappy, or resentful, it can manifest as a constant need to blame you. Talk to your partner, be curious about what they're feeling, and commit to getting the relationship back on track. The relationship requires cooperation. It requires cooperation. We don't need anger. We don't need resentment. We don't need attitude. And this is really important for women in particular. If your man comes home from work and he works a high-stress job and he needs time to decompress, men will really appreciate me saying this, I'm sure. Okay. If he says, you know what, do me a favor. When I come home from work, I need at least a half an hour of peace and quiet. I need a half an hour of watching something nonsensical on TV with no meaning because my brain has been overworked all day. And I feel like when I walk in the door and you jump on me with things that have happened through the day that are concerning, I feel extra overwhelmed. So give me a half an hour or an hour of decompress time when I come home. That's all I'm asking. Ladies, respect that. Unless it's an emergency, obviously. Okay? If something happened to someone in the family, someone's in the hospital, that's obviously a different scenario. But so far as, this happened and Mary Jane at work said this to me and I don't appreciate it. Don't do that. Let him decompress. Okay? Women want to talk and communicate. And men don't want to. They want to go inside the cave and decompress and watch basketball or softball or whatever. Okay, something silly on TV because he just wants to decompress his brain. Allow him the time and space to do that. Do not pounce on that man when he walks in the door. Okay. And he needs to communicate that without attitude. Remember, we're not doing obstinate stubbornness. I'm sick and tired. You want to be single? Keep it up. Keep it up. Lose the attitude. Nobody can read your mind, men and women. Nobody can read your mind. They don't know that you need a half an hour or an hour to decompress, 45 minutes, whatever. They don't know that. So you need to communicate that. And that person doesn't need to have an attitude. You don't need to have an attitude when you say it. Because that doesn't, like I said, that don't bring out the best in people. Okay? So, psych love. And 15 reasons your spouse blames you for everything. Psych love. Okay? And psych love has a little red heart next to it. All right? So, I hope that was helpful to you. And much love, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.